All right, good morning. I'd like to call a meeting to order and acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Neil Harden. I'm chairing today's panel. With me via Zoom are Gail Anderson and Kent Seelan. The secretary today is Jason Robertson, and the assessor is Kim Wong. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment rule in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and will limit discussion to those matters. Statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by council and is independent of it in the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that may be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions the applicant may have, then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You'll receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We'll be hearing items 1 through 10 on our docket today. Mr. Robertson, please affirm the assessors and the applicant's testimony.
Mr. Assessor, please state your full name. I'm Wong. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Henry Dupont.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
All right. The first property on today's agenda is 505 Monroe Avenue. So, Mr. Wong, you can proceed on that.
Okay. The subject property is 505 Monroe Avenue. The file number is 22-1588. The roll number is 020-410-00100. The roll number is 2000. The roll year is 2023. The assessed value is $9,826,000. This property is owned by Manitoba Housing and Renewal Corporation. So it is a nonprofit, and their actual income and expenses, utilizing them would not lead to an accurate estimate of value. So we'll be looking to the market to value this property. We're treating it as a residential apartment block. It's 15 stories high. It was built in 1976 we have an effective year built of 1976 to 1982. And there are 125 suites with 40 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. On page 4 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $766 to get a potential income of $1,149,000. We use a 3.2% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $1,112,000, and we use a 54% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $506,000. Capped at 5.15%, we have an estimated market value of $9,826,000. On page 5 are some rent comparables showing that the rents we've used are supported by the market. On page 6 are the CMHC or the market rents from CMHC. Using the market rents from CMHC, the estimated annual potential is $1,250,000, which supports the model's rent potential at $1,149,000. Below that are some expense comparables that range from 49 to 56%. This supports the model's expense ratio at 54.53%. On page 7 is information on how we derived our cap rates. On page 8 are some cap rate sales that range from 3.6 to 5.74%. On page 10 is the income statement or the mailer supplied by the owner. On page 12 is the market rents from CMHC. On page 13 and 14 are a couple permits that were taken out for some interior alterations. One permit had a declared construction value of $219,000, and the other permit has a declared construction value of $300,000. So when you look at this from a market perspective, the model rent expenses and cap rate are supported by the market. So I ask that you maintain the assessed value at $9,826,000.
Okay, questions?
For your cap rate comparables, do you have any workups or background data?
We do have them. My colleague stabilized these properties to calculate these cap rates, but we haven't presented them in our brief.
Do you give any a cap rate premium for a subject property being a social housing?
I don't believe we do. I believe we reflect that it is social housing by using lower rents and higher than market expenses.
The subject suite mix is 96 bachelors and 28 one bedroom, 1 2 bedroom. So would you agree that's an inferior suite mix?
I don't think it would be inferior. It would just indicate that bachelors would get lower rents. So it would get lower rents than, say, compared to a 1 bedroom or a 2 bedroom. I'm not sure if it would be inferior, as I've seen buildings that have primarily bachelors sell.
That's the only questions I have.
Okay, Gail, any questions?
I have no questions. They've been asked and answered. Thanks.
Okay, Kent, any questions?
Yes, have you inspected this location?
I have not.
When was the last inspection?
In 2015.
Was that because of the permits or?
Yes.
When you look at your comparables table, what would be the closest comparison for rent comparables?
Maybe the one on 70 Gary. Like the suite mix is, it's not perfect. It's not an exact match, but the gross floor area per unit is similar.
Thank you. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and I have no questions, so Henry, you can proceed.
We only dispute the cap rate, so give you a heads up so that has to do with social housing and physical factors. So if you look at the first photo, the high rise has a balcony, and the second photo has a bit of close up. So you'll see they have wall air conditioning, and you have some windows open. So it appears to be one wall air conditioning for the whole suite. And I guess it's insufficient for some suites, for some rooms, then they open the windows so that the fresh air in. So it's inferior air conditioning system. They do have air conditioning, but it's inferior wall. The map aerial photos on page 8 has outdoor parking. You can see that. And as per the assessor's brief, there's 40 parking for 125 suites. So the cap rate starts on page 14. So the assessor has 5.15. We're at 5.75%. So that's the crux for our differences. The subject built 1982. Well, actually, it's built. It's pretty assessor is built 1976, and then they give it 1982 effective age. So 1982 fits in our cap rate study at 5.5. So we also consider the site-specific factors for that, so that it's under the comments. So for conditioning quality, it would be social housing, so it would be budget finishes. Parking's inferior, it's only 32%. Small suite size, the gross floor area is low as 694 square feet, which includes the corridors naturally. Suite mix inferior, 76% bachelors, 24% one bedroom. So due to the fact that it has social housing, which means also budget finishes, inferior parking, and inferior suite size, we give it a premium. We say 0.5% over the 5.25, but it actually it could be the prior age group. So depending on whether we agree with the effective age, the assessor has given a 6 years difference. Nevertheless, we give it a cap rate of 5.75. So the page with the income approach, page 16. So that's a spreadsheet, so that we show shortened version of our income approach, because we agree with the assessor's parameters, except for cap rate. So the assessor's rent that they give it $766 per suite. Then on top right is the negative factors that we show, and we show the square footage and the number of stories, etc. So applying a cap rate 5.75, we get a value of $8,800,000. And now the appendix we have from Asian Opportunity, a site they refer to this property. Doesn't give that much information on it. And then we have a section on cap rate for affordable housing and municipal board decisions, precedents where they gave a premium for social housing. That's my report. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Wong?
No questions.
Okay, Gail, questions?
Just comment in regards to the suites. There's a total of 125 suites. The city has recorded that there's 96 bachelors, 28 one bedroom, 1 2 bedroom, and the information that you provided differs, right? It says 95 bachelor and 31 bedroom, and I see that aligns with the mailer from the applicant. So the same number of suites, just there's no 2 bedroom. apartment, it appears.
Yes, I would agree with your comments. Yeah.
And have you visited the facility, Henry?
No, I have not.
Okay. And so the investments in regard to the building permits in 2015, would you be able to comment on that? Would it be like repair and maintenance on turnovers?
MHRC rarely do that on turnovers. So it says 219,600. Cosmetic work to all the suites. Yes, it's not on turnover. It's done all at one time.
Yeah.
New kitchens, flooring, and paint.
Okay. And in regards to the cap rate that you are requesting of 5.75%, you indicated a part of that is due to inferior parking. So because certainly there's not a parking stall for each suite. There's 125 suites and only 40 parking stalls. But can you say whether or not it's common for bachelor suites not to be assigned parking in apartment buildings, or is it common for them to have a parking spot?
I wouldn't say it's common, and I don't believe there are statistics to that effect. And people who live in bachelors are less likely to have cars than people who live in 1 and 2 bedrooms. So the people in bachelors could get away with no parking, but it's still a negative factor that follows this property, has a lot of bachelors and no parking. So it's a permanent feature that affects the risk and the quality of income. If you don't have enough parking, you attract only people that have no cars and therefore lower quality tenants.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for your presentation. Those are all my questions.
Okay, Kent, any questions?
Yes, your 0.5% premium on this property for the cap rate, is that a standard premium you apply to properties where you feel there's I'll say inferior finishes and parking and things like that?
The 0.5 tends to be standard. Sometimes we use 0.75. Yeah, so this time we use 0.5, but we have gone higher.
Okay, that's all my questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much.
Okay, and I have no questions that haven't been asked. Mr. Dupont, do you have a rebuttal? Do you wish to address that rebuttal now?
Yes, and I have to give my cap rate presentation also.
Okay, well, do your cap rate presentation first then.
Okay. I have to find it, but if you find it, you'll see it's 162 pages, and we just need to go to page 161 and page 162. That gives a reconciliation of the assessor's cap rate calculations on our cap rate comparables. And versus what we have for so page 161, if you have it there, and shows in green the assessor's cap rate calculations for the same cap rate comparables. So the first property, 2290 McPhillips, we have 5.59. They have 4.79. The next one, 55 Corden, we have 5.73. They have 5.74. They're virtually the same. So they do that to all our comparables. They have a couple, they say it's unusable. And the reason is the sales questionnaires. The owner said they did not rely on the existing income stream. I believe that's not a reason to say that it's unusable. They bought it with an income stream pro forma would be very rare for somebody to buy an apartment, not get a statement from somebody. So they don't say we didn't even know what the statements are. They just said we didn't rely upon it. The last one is unusable because it's a pro forma. It's a pro forma that's well done by an agent, and that's what we use to calculate our cap rate. So the last page is the reconciliation, the Altus cap, City Winnipeg cap, and Altus cap conclusion for each age group. So the first four for newer properties. So there is a disagreement. We have a 5.25 estimate for that age group, and some of those cap rates we have some differences, but I don't believe we have a newer property here today. Then the next one, 277 Langside, we're 6.12, assessed 6.1, but our cap rate for that age group is 5.5. So therefore, the assessed recalculations actually support our conclusion. I will skip La Verandre for now, but 512 Balmoral, we have 6.75. They're 6.16, and our cap rate for that age group is 5.5. Possibly that one is due to location. So even if we had the location premium, our 5.5 is supported by that cap rate. And Maryland, they're at 5.5. The city is at 5.5, but that matches our conclusion for that age group, 5.5. Corden, they're 5.74 versus our conclusion, 5.75. Two-tenths of Mary's, the sisters at 5.71 versus our conclusion, 5.75. So their calculations actually support our conclusion for each age group. The only one that's different, aside from the new ones, there's 215 La Verandre. And that particular property, the pro forma from the vendor stated that the actual repair maintenance included some capital expenditures, and therefore we adjusted the repair maintenance to have less repair maintenance due to these capex, and the assessor did not. So I believe the should have adjusted the repair maintenance to reflect that there has some capex in the repair maintenance. So that's my cap rate report. And if you want to go to...
Okay, we'll have questions on the cap rate report, first of all. Okay. So Mr. Wong, questions on the cap rate report?
No questions.
Okay, Gail, any questions on the cap rate report?
I have no questions, thank you.
Kent?
No questions, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Okay, from past hearings, I understand that your calculation on 2390 McPhillips is based on not on the actual income, but on an assumed income. Is that correct?
Yeah, we estimated the market rents because the purchaser increased the rent substantially after purchase. So we applied CMHC market rents to calculate the cap rate. And on that one, the assessor and analysis of the same expenses. So our sole difference is in the market rents.
Okay. All right. So then I have no more questions. You can then do your rebuttal then, please.
To the rebuttal, so page 1 is 2390 McPhillips, and that's where we show the differences we have, the fact that the purchaser bought and increased the rent substantially right after purchase, and we applied CMHC rents, and we have that on the next page. So that's calculations in our rebuttal and our main report, same calculations. Page 4 of that report, we said the assessor's comparable. 700 St. Mary's property was bought with the intention to renovate, as per enclosed letter from property manager D7. Purchaser was a first-time buyer. Also, the property was in rough shape. The previous owner doing nothing for repair maintenance. And then I suggested that the assessor would actually give the revenues and expense for that property and how they calculated the cap rate. It would show that the rents are low and that the repair maintenance are low. And then it's an unusual property and it should just be thrown out. I believe the cap rate is 3.6. It's an abnormal cap rate, so it should not be relied upon. The next one, the assessor comparable 32 Arden. There's an ad showing that the purchaser renovated after purchase, indicating intention when they were purchasing. And we have some municipal board decision following saying that the people that rely or cap rates there where a person, the purchaser relies on income stream. When are they going to change it for? Because they have the intention to renovate, that it should not be relied upon. And also the 2018 laundry was missing. The 2016, 2017 laundry was there. We checked with the vendor and he advised that the manager did not report laundry income because the vendor's sister was collecting the laundry directly. So their cap rate does not reflect all the income. And then we have all the backup documents for this, Shimichi rents, etc. for McPhillips. So that's my rebuttal. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Wong, questions on the rebuttal?
Mr. Wong?
Yep. So the vendor that was selling 2390 McPhillips, what was their indicated cap rate?
They indicated cap rate, I believe, 4.75 on their income, but it was bought for less. Their listed sale price, but it was bought for less.
That's all my questions.
So the vendor was showing it based on the actual income, and I'm saying that we should not be using actual income.
That's all my questions.
Okay, Gail, any questions on the rebuttal?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, Kent?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, now, Mr. Wong, I understand you have some rebuttal to present?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead then.
I just have to find my copy of the document. So if you go to page 2.
Which one are you addressing first of all?
It would be the rebuttal to the cap rate study.
Okay.
It says rebuttal to 2023 Altus cap rate study document.
Okay, good.
Okay. So if you go to page 2,
Yep.
you can sort of see that what for say 2390 McPhillips, Altus had calculated a cap rate of 5.59%, and we had calculated a cap rate of 4.79%. If you go to page 3, that is our workup, and that is how we calculated the 4.79%. If you'll notice that their income was, I would say, very steady from 2017 to 2019. 2019, the year prior to the sale, and then the expenses underneath that. You can see that their operating income from 2017 to 2019 was about 913,000 to 943,000, and we've stabilized at 928,000. So we believe that the property is stable, and that there's no reason not to use the income and expenses of just prior to the sale, and so that's how we calculated the 4.79%, and that's also in line with what the vendor was stating it to be, about 4.75%. and Altus's cap rate study indicated that 333 Ward has a cap rate of 5.07%. So we believe that our 4.79% is accurate in this regard. And if you go back to page 2, there are some properties highlighted in red, like 100 Southview. We thought it was unusable because of the pro forma didn't have very much information on it. If you go to the very last page of the document,
Okay.
so the very last page of the document, you can see that their expenses are pretty sparse, and also you can see that their expenses are at 26.2%. That's pretty low, and so I'm not sure if using that type of an expense ratio to calculate the cap rate is very accurate. So we just didn't feel that there was any actual information to be used, and the information that was provided was, I would say, it's very sparse. So we don't think it's usable. But that's pretty much a summary of the rebuttal to their to Altus's cap rate.
Okay.
Okay, and if you go to the other document.
Yep.
Does everyone have the other document open?
Yes.
Okay. I guess on the first page of the document, it's the applicant is indicating that they've added a higher cap rate. They've added points to their cap rate based off of negative factors such as wood frame, higher bachelor suites, small units, poor parking suite ratio, having basement units, and they've added, I guess, additional premiums for being in a poor location. But those negative factors have already been included. They're already included in the Altus cap rate study properties, as highlighted in the chart above. Like you can see in the chart above that the properties are, there's a lot of wood frame construction there. You can see that there are a few sales that have bachelors and a high number of bachelors as in 277 line side. So I believe that that negative factor is included in their cap rate already. And also, if you look at the gross floor area, there are properties that have smaller gross floor area per unit. And so, and if you look at the parking ratios, there are sales that are have a low parking stall to unit ratio. So once again, that negative factor is included in the cap rate sales properties. And also there are properties that have basement suites, like almost half of them have basement suites. So I believe that quote unquote negative factor is included. And also when you look at the location of 677 Maryland, 512 Balmoral, and 277 Lineside, I believe that the poor condition or the poor location negative factor is also included in their cap rate study. So increasing the Altus cap rate further for these negative factors, in my view, it would be double counting those negative factors. And I just wanted to, I guess, show that. And then on the second page, you can see, I guess Altus has indicated that $1,300 per unit repair and maintenance is kind of on the lower end, and $2,000 could be normal. $2,000 per unit could be normal, but that is not consistent with the average repair and maintenance used in the Altus cap rate study as shown above. which averages about $749 per unit. And you can also see for the properties for their cap rate study, their expense ratios, I would say they're fairly low. I mean, they range from 25% to 51% in their cap rate study, with an average of 37%. So I believe that's kind of low. And when the expense ratios are that low, then they might lead to inaccurately high cap rates. And so it's just summarizing the information there. And that's my rebuttal.
Okay, Henry, any questions on either of the two rebuttals from the city?
Yeah, the first rebuttal. So McPhillips, you're where's your workup on that? Page 3. You said the income was steady, and that means the cap rate was done accurately by you. Now the vacancy is low, 0.49%, 0.52%, 2.13, average 1.05. That's below average. Would you not indicate that the low vacancy means it is lower than market rent?
I mean, the vacancy being like 0.49, 0.5, and 2.13, it's a little bit lower than market.
So the fact that it's steady income, it just means that maybe they have low rent, so that it does not support. Would you agree? Does not support the fact that we should be using market rent instead?
No, I think the typically speaking, the owners would charge what they can get, and they wouldn't charge below market just for the heck of it.
The repair maintenance that you stabilized that one at is 837. So isn't this kind of low with in relation to what you're saying that up to 2,000 it could be should be used? You're going site specific on this, and it's low. Is that correct?
In this particular case, it is $837. Like what I typically see is maybe about $750 to $1,500, or at the very, very, very top end, it might be a couple of thousand. But generally speaking, this falls within the range.
837 is within the range of 1,500 to 2,000.
No, 750 to 1,500.
Okay. But you use 837 because that's what it was site specifically, right?
That seems to be in line for newer properties.
No, the last page, page 34. So how does Southview? So on top, it shows that it's townhouse type, and it has 58 garages, 82 outdoor. Suite mix is 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom. 17 buildings. So because of the fact that it has high rents, line 3 has 1,626 for rent. Would that be a reason why the expense ratio is only 26%? Because they start off with high rents?
I'm not sure. It just sort of seems like when you're looking at their expenses, it seems kind of it's not based off of actual expenses.
And the utilities are 2.6%. So if the tenants are paying their own utilities, that would account for the lower expense ratio. Would you not agree?
Potentially, but it's hard to say because those are not their actual expenses.
So would you agree that every property where you have calculations of cap rate should be done on a site-specific basis, whether the vacancy or expense ratio fits a norm or not, we go site-specific?
There should be, I think site specific is reasonable, but there should be some consistency in site specific. I don't believe that you should have, I guess, extremely low repair and maintenance for, say, your cap rate study. But when it comes to the properties that are in appeal, that the repair and maintenance is really high. I don't believe that that's consistent. And so, yeah, I believe it should be applied in a very consistent manner.
Your other report, your first page, you show Maryland, and Balmoral and Langside as having poor location. Does the assessment department have the cap rate premium for West End?
I don't believe so.
So why should that affect the cap rate then?
Well, the thing, those are, I guess, in my view, poorer locations, and so if you're saying that maybe these are not poor locations, then I'm not sure if you should be applying any sort of additional cap rate to any of your properties for being a poor location. But in my view, these are poor locations, and they basically account for they account for the negative aspects of the location.
Would you agree that none of our cap rates, where we have site-specific factors, we do not have a cap rate premium for location?
But that is one of the negative factors that have been mentioned in the past.
But not today?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But with regards to negative parking ratios or basement suites, I believe so.
So are you saying that we should be giving some cap rate premiums for these factors, the parking, the bachelors, etc., or small suites, but that is not linked properly with my cap rate comparables?
Yeah. Just the fact that I guess Altus is trying to apply additional points to the cap rate for these factors, I just believe that they've already been accounted for, and that if you were to apply a 0.25 or a 0.5 or a 0.75 increase to the cap rate for these factors, in my view, it looks like it's double counting because it's already included in the sales in your cap rate study.
That's all questions.
Okay, Gail, any questions on the city's rebuttals?
I have no questions, thank you.
Kent?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you for this. We'll move on to the next property. Let me just make a note here.
Can I have a summation?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Or Kim, you can go first.
No, thank you.
Summation on cap rates. Basically, Kim is agreeing with that we should allow for these negative factors. He doesn't like the fact that we may be double counting. So therefore, we should continue considering these negative factors, and you should decide how much you allow based on our difference in cap rates for the base cap rate. And as per the cap rate study, the assessor's calculation or cap rate, they virtually agree with us for all the age group except for newer properties built after 1999. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We will move on to 505 Regent then. Let me just close the old files and you can proceed, Mr. Wong, on 505 Regent.
The subject property is 505 Regent Avenue West. The file number is 22-1573. The roll number is 090-054-76000. The roll year is 2023. The assessed value is $1,566,000. This is a residential apartment block that's 2 stories high. It was built in 1964 and it has 16 suites with 16 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. On page 4 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $827 to get a potential income of $158,000. We used a 2% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $155,000. And we used a 48% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $79,000. Kept at 5.1% to have an estimated market value of $1,566,000. On page 5 are some rent comparables showing that the rents we've used are in line with what's in the market. On page 6 is a summary of the income and expenses submitted by the owner. Their income for 2020 is $79,000, and that supports the model's net operating income of $79,000. On page 7 and 8 is information on how we derived our cap rates, with some cap rate sales that range from 3.6 to 5.74%. The remainder of my brief is the income statement supplied by the owner. So the model rent and cap rates are supported by the market, and their actual net operating income supports the model's net operating income. So I ask that you maintain the assessed value of $1,566,000.
Okay, questions, Mr. DuPont?
No questions.
Okay, Gail, any questions?
No, I have no questions, thank you.
Kent?
Yes, you actually inspected this location?
I have not.
Do you know the last time when this location was inspected?
I do not.
What would you say a condition based on your report? What would you say the actual condition is of this property?
I haven't inspected the property, but based off of the front photo on my page 3, it appears to be average.
Thank you very much. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
All right. I got a question on your comparables there.
Okay.
Your rent being used is below any of your comparables. So how do you judge how much below the comparables it would be reasonable? I guess is my question.
Yeah, no, it's just that some of the other comparables, they have slightly different suite mixes. You see, there's a few more, say, 2 bedrooms, and there's 3 Sanford has some more 3 bedrooms. And so if they were a little bit more similar in terms of suite mix, I think the rents would be more in line.
Okay. All right. Hey, Henry, you can proceed with your presentation.
Can we go to the appendix, page 19? So that from Sussex, and then the remarks, charming, bright, and spacious. So that's about the extent they have for bragging of this property, which is very generic, meaning nothing much has been done for renovations. The page 22, that's for the assessor's information. If you look at the bottom of that page, it gives you the basement area and above grade, 10,404, and the basement 5,202. We use those areas to calculate the gross floor area per suite. Then the questionnaire, page 25, under property features. If you look under air conditioning, that's the check mark wall AC. So that's one of the things we're saying for you to look at. But then the photos will show that. So if you go back to the first page, so it shows the wall AC below some of the windows. So you can see the on the far right that there's two windows. There's wall AC, but there's no wall AC for the other rooms. So therefore, it's not central. Not every room has air conditioning, so they have likely the living room. If you look also the basement, they have very tiny windows, and therefore there would be no suites in the basement. So it's basically a two-story and wasted space in the basement. And it's we'll show that as part of our spreadsheet. So then the next photos show the wall AC. It has window wells in the back, 14 parking. The aerial map shown on page 8. For cap rate, so the assessors got 5.1%, and we have 5.75. So this property was built 1964, so it's all an older walk-up. So you would fit in the age group 5.5. And as you saw from the cap rate study, the assessor's calculation for cap rate for that age group supports or a conclusion for that age group. Site-specific factors are shown. Has low repair maintenance. It has wall AC, which is a negative factor. Parking is at 88%. The suite size, they're small. Their above grade is low at 650 square feet per suite. So we give it a 0.25% premium due to negative factors. So we start with the base 5.5 and give it a 0.25% premium. So that if you go to page 16, that's the income approach. So we show those factors on top right again. And then we show the like in the middle of the top gross floor area 15,606, but the above grade, excluding the 5,000 in the basement, that's 10,404 divided by number of suites is 650 square feet per suite, and actually that includes the corridors and the stairwells. So they would be small suites. So the suite mix is 14 one-bedroom and 2 two-bedroom. So they have no bachelors, but they're all very small suites. Now we stabilize as per financial statements. Line 13, we're only some of the dollars less than the assessor, so we have similar net income. Line 33, our net income is 81,258, which is slightly higher than the assessor by 2,000. Now, line 27, repair maintenance, we stabilize at 1,087, so we go site specific, and that is shown on the next page, page 17. So the first 4 lines in red, those are normally the capital expenditures. We didn't stabilize anything there. They spent some money on the roof in 2018, but we did not allow any of those expenses. We allowed a little bit of the windows and doors and parquet, because those are small amounts and they're repairs, so we allow those. So we only allow $9 and $55 for that. But what's interesting is the flooring replacement amounts to $140 per suite per year, and the benchmark on the far right is $500. So if you were to replace the flooring every 8 years on an 8-year cycle, it would be $500. based on the cost of flooring. And appliances the same thing based on cost of appliances over 8 years should be 225 and only 25. So they spend very little money on turnover on the suites that come up vacant. That's when you do your flooring and your appliances and your painting and or counters and cupboards to replace that. All those items are very low. So that speaks to the condition of the property. So we stabilize at actual site specific. We're not saying we should plug in $500 for flooring. They're not spending that. So we allow site specific, and that comes to $1087 per suite. That's what we have in the previous page. So page 16, when we apply the cap rate to our net income, we get a value of $1,413,000. So that's our cap rate base plus 0.25% premium for its negative factors. And that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Wong?
So you're applying a increase of 0.25% cap rate due to low repair and maintenance, wall, air conditioning, inferior parking in terms of stalls, and the suite sizes being small.
Yes, we take all factors into consideration, then we decide what kind of factor to give. Like we would not give a premium if it just had basement suites. It's just that's the small negative factors, and this case doesn't have basement suites. But some of these factors by themselves, only one factor would not be enough. But we have quite a few factors in this case.
Okay. Would you agree that some of the properties in your cap rate study have small units and some of them have inferior parking stall counts to unit ratio?
Yes, as per your evidence, I don't dispute your evidence. Some of those units do include some of those factors.
Okay, that's all my questions.
Okay, Gail, questions?
I'm just wondering if you've had an opportunity to visit this site. Have you been inside the building recently?
No. I have inspected a lot of apartments when we go to municipal boards in the past, but for the board of revision, we usually have no time to inspect, so it'd be rare to inspect the property during board revision hearings.
Okay. Would you be able to provide us with whether your feeling is that it is indeed in average condition or the type of condition it's in?
We say the condition is inferior because it has low repair maintenance. We have 5-year history, and then we show that the turnover replacement of appliances and flooring is at the low end, much lower than the benchmarks. Like appliances, only 10% of the benchmark. Painting, 10-12% of benchmark, and so on and so forth. So based on the financials, we can determine it has poor condition because it's very low spent on repair maintenance.
Okay. Okay, so poor condition. Thank you very much for your presentation. Those are all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Kent, any questions?
Yes, just to reconfirm, I think you said that repair and maintenance when it came to flooring, painting, appliances is every 8 years. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
So that's the benchmark. I'm not saying it happens, but for a lot of property managers, that's what they do. They replace every 8 years. So that's the cycle and the cost that we have. And if it happened to be more than $500 per suite, we said they're replacing more quickly than an 8-year cycle, and we would go to a maximum. So those are maximums. And they're also benchmarks.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for the follow-up. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, the question I have is on the wall air conditioning. Why is that a negative factor? Like, aren't there a lot of apartments in Winnipeg with wall air conditioners?
Yeah, I'm just saying it's inferior to the central air conditioning because it's air conditioning for one room only. So now you see the photo that they have wall air conditioning under one window, but the next two windows have no wall air conditioning. So we know that the rest, it's usually one wall air conditioner per suite. So it's not that bad. It's better than no air conditioning. It's not as good as central.
Okay. All right. So thank you for that.
That by itself, I would not give it a cap rate premium just for that. It's just added up with the rest.
All right. We'll move on then to 209 Talbot, and then we'll take a break after this property. Let me just open the files on Talbot. Okay, Mr. Wong, on 209 Talbot, please.
The subject property is 209 Talbot Avenue. The file number is 22-2198. The roll number is 140-914-83000. The roll year is 2023, and the assessed value is $1,165,000. This is a residential apartment that's 2 stories high. It was built in 1959, and it has 16 suites with 13 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. On page 4 are some interior photos of the subject property. The photos are from the property manager's website. On page 5 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $564 to get a potential income of $108,000. We use a 3.2% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $104,000, and we use a 58% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $43,000, capped at 5.15%. We have an estimated market value of $852,000. The assessed value is $1,165,000. So in looking at their income and expenses, it appears that they were performing fairly low, and so revising my value based off of the workup on page 5. See on page 6 are some rent comparables which support the revised rent of $564. It's probably a little bit lower than what's in the market. On the bottom of page 6 are some expense comparables which range from 44 to 52%, which supports the 58% that is being applied in the revised value. On page 7 and 8 is information on how we derived our cap rates, with some cap rate sales that range from 3.6 to 5.74%. On page 11, you'll see that their net operating income is $23,000. You'll see that their operating income, their revenue income is $96,000. Their expenses are $72,000, and their net operating income is $23,000. These are what they are. That's what they got for 2020. But I don't believe that this property would sell with such a low net operating income. I believe that it would sell. It wouldn't sell based off of this net operating income. So, but I'd also like to reflect that maybe the original assessment at $1,165,000 is not in line with the property either, and so my recommendation is to revise the value to $852,000.
Okay, Mr. Dupont, how do you feel about that recommendation?
I don't accept.
Okay, so we go on, Mr. Wong.
Okay, so like I said, the subject property, I don't believe it would sell using their actual net operating income. The rent and the expenses and the cap rate of the revised value are supported by the market, and the revised value is in line with the 2020 municipal board certificate of agreement for $790,000. So I ask that you accept the revised value of $852,000.
All right. Thank you. Questions, Mr. Dupont?
So I can follow you. So page 5.
Before you go on, I will comment, Mr. Wong, that past assessments are of little guidance to the board. We base it on the evidence provided at this hearing.
Okay.
Okay, so Mr. Dupont, you can proceed.
So page 5, this is your revising your income approach, and you have rents 108,303. How did you get the 108?
It would be the model at a lower income quality.
So that's based on the model and adjust, but so it's still not site specific rents. Is that correct?
It is higher than. No, it's still the model.
And your expenses is not site specific either. You're still at the model expense ratio.
Correct.
Your original expense ratio was 52.1%. Is that correct? Now you're 58.
Yes.
And how did you change the expense ratio? It's just by different condition that brings a different expense ratio.
Yeah, we do have income qualities for apartments, and this one is it was rerun using a lower income quality.
All right. So all questions.
Okay, Gail, any questions?
So just to make sure that I have this correct in my mind, the only override you performed then in recasting the assessment was to increase the expenses?
No, it lowered the income as well.
Okay. But no change to the cap rate?
No.
What would drive a cap rate change in when recasting an assessment?
The location, the size of the building, the age of the building. Those are a few. I'm not sure of all the attributes that would go into adjusting the cap rate, but those are a few.
Okay, so when you reran it, you indicated that you reran it as a what
lower quality?
Lower quality.
Yep.
So that lower quality, rerunning as a lower quality does not change the cap rate.
I don't believe so.
Okay. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, Kent, any questions?
Yes, have you seen this property? Have you inspected this property?
No.
Do you know if there's been any permits or renovations done to this property?
I do not know of any permits, but it does appear that it's been, I guess, at the very least refreshed.
That's all my questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, I have no questions, so Henry, you can proceed.
Yeah, the appendix, the page 19. So we try to get whatever we can out of the internet at all times. So then we end up with the same photos that Cam had. And then the remarks about 209 Talbot, etc. And suite amenities, very simple. Fridge, refrigerator, fridge and stove, just no dishwasher. Then we have the photos. So they're relatively small kitchen, and plain white cabinets, and tile floor, which they look in good condition, but it's not the newer laminate. And the bathtub has tub surround, which a lot of the suites have put in over the years. And the living room has low pile carpet, which is the old type finish that it has. So if we can go to the photos will show that it has a basement suite, page 2. The walk up. Then we have the aerial photo, page 7, shows parking in the back. And Talbot, as we know, its location is it's not the best, but I mean it's we don't adjust for that location. It's just an inferior location. The cap rate page starts page 13. So the subject property, we calculate the taxes on top of that page. You'll see an income approach. We plug in that figure, 12,117. So on top of page 13 is how we did that. So this property built 1959, fits in that age group, 5.75. We do not give it a cap rate premium. We discussed the factors that it has. The condition, we say inferior due to low rent and low repair maintenance. Gross floor area is a bit low, 71 square feet, and not that bad. Suite mix is inferior at 31% bachelors, but it has some 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms. So even though there's 3 types of negative factors, we did not give it the cap rate premium. So we used 5.75. So the next page is the income approach. To rotate. So we show at the top of the page, top right, is the negative factors that it has. We don't give a premium. Show the parking is 94%, so the parking is fairly good. Now, if you look line 28, caretaker is very low cost, 348. So we use that actual cost in our stabilization, but we far right we say is low, likely due to rent reduction. So 1 suite would be 5,892, and we put that up on the income side, mainly so we can compare the rent with the assessor after adjusting for the caretaker. So line 1, if we add 5,892 to the actual rent, we get 538 rent. 103 is the potential gross rent, including the caretaker suite. The assessor had 120 109 originally, and the assessor is now making a recommendation of 108. So the assessor is still 5,000 higher than the actual rents and their recommendation. Then if we work down, the vacancy comes to 3.3% versus the assessor 3.2. So we're relatively close. Then we add the laundry, and the parking is including in the rent. So line 13, we're at 96,000. Original assessment was 125, and the assessor is now 104. So now we are 8,000 in difference in rents from his recommendation. So he's getting closer, but it's still not site specific. We stabilize expenses in a normal way. Repair maintenance, line 27, we stabilize at 1292, which is on the low side. Then we have that next page. You can look at the next page, please, page 16. So they do spend some expenses to repair the roof. So then we've allowed the 5-year average for roof repair, which adds only $26 to the repair maintenance. Then we have the flooring, appliance, painting, counters, and cupboards. So we use a 5-year average for those, but the flooring is at 162 versus the benchmark 500. It's low. The appliance replacement is also very low, $50-some versus 225 benchmark. Painting is about half. So a lot of the, not a lot, some of the apartments that we bring to you will be at or near those benchmarks, and they will have higher rents because of that. So we will use a higher repair maintenance, and that will be matching the higher rent. So here we have lower rent matched by the fact to have lower repair maintenance. And then the overall is relatively low, 1292, but the turnover or flooring, appliance replacement, painting is on the low side. We disallowed 1 high year for electrical. These items are shown in red. And the remaining repair maintenance, these are all things are not categorized. They still had 2 years that stood out higher than the other years. So we excluded those 2 high years in our stabilization. So we end up with 1292 for suite repair maintenance. So that's what we put in the previous page 15. So our expenses are 64,000, and the assessors recalculated expenses 60,984. So the assessors he dropped his expenses compared to what the original expenses were. So our net income line 33 is 32,000, and the actuals shown for all the years, it was negative 5,000 in 2017, and then negative 10,000, plus 30, plus 25, or 24, sorry. So we stabilized at 32, which is in line with those years, but we stabilized each individual item. The taxes, they showed actual taxes 16,000, but we recalculated at 12,000 the actual taxes from the assessment times the mill rate. We thought the taxes were kind of erratic, the actual taxes for each of the years. We checked the taxes to make sure, and we came up with lower taxes. So I believe we adjusted the taxes properly in this case. So we applied the cap rate 5.75 to the our revised net income. We get a value of 563,000. The assessor's recalculation was about 44,000, which is much higher than each of the years because they're going an expense ratio rather than site specific. So that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Wong?
Yes, on your photos of the subject property, the interior photos, would you say that that's reasonably well maintained?
Yeah, naturally, the photos that they show, but the ad out would not be their worst suite. They usually show their best suite. So their best suite shows the old tile, old appliances, um, really plain cabinets and carpeting. So that those items themselves don't look bad, is that compared to other suites which may have better appliances, better flooring, better cabinets.
Would you, your cap rate sale at 277 Langside, it has 23 bachelors, 8 one bedrooms, and 16 two bedrooms. Would you say that the suite mix is somewhat similar to the subject property?
I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah, Langside has 23 bachelors, 8 one bedrooms, and 16 two bedrooms. The subject property has 5 bachelors, 8 one bedrooms, and 3 two bedrooms. Would you say that's somewhat similar?
Somewhat similar, yes.
277 Langside, it's sold for 63,000 a unit. For 209 Talbot, you're requesting 35,000 per unit. Do you feel that's reasonable, considering?
I stopped using direct comparison approach in 1993 at the municipal board because we were arguing prior years direct comparison and income approach at all times at the board of revision at the municipal board, and the municipal board always went with the income approach, and the direct comparison approach has not been used at the municipal board ever since. We just do not even look at it. Where all properties for apartments are income producing, they should be based on their income. Site specific revenue, site specific expenses will produce different value per suite, and value per suite has nothing to do with valuation of apartments.
Okay. So if the income approach indicated 5,000 a unit, would you consider that accurate?
And if you indicate 150,000 per suite, I would use 150,000. Whatever the income approach indicates on the site specific, we don't compare sales per suite whatsoever.
That's all my questions.
Okay, Gail, questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Kent?
I think you've answered them, but you haven't inspected this property, have you?
No, I have not. No.
Thank you so much. No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, I have no questions either, so we will now take a break until 10:35. So we'll come back then. Thank you. All right, the next property is 260 Talbot. So Mr. Wong, you can proceed on that one.
Okay, the subject property is 260 Talbot Avenue. The file number is 22-2199. The roll number is 140-915-20100. The roll year is 2023, and the assessed value is $2,616,000. This is a residential apartment that's 2 stories high. It was built in 1970 and has 30 suites with 23 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. On page 4 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $828 to get a potential income of $298,000. We use a 3.2% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $288,000. And we use the 54% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $132,000. Capped at 5.05%, we have an estimated market value of $2,616,000. On page 5 are some rent comparables, which shows that the rents that the model has applied is in line with what's in the market. On page 6 is a summary of the income and expenses supplied by the owner. In 2020, their net operating income was $122,000. This is lower than the model at $132,000. So I'd like to revise the value based off of the NOI of $122,399, and using the model cap rate at 5.05%, the revised value is $2,424,000.
Okay, and how do you feel about that recommendation, Mr. Dupont? Are you muted, Henry?
No, I'm thinking. Sorry.
Oh, you're thinking.
I should have said, give me a minute.
Okay.
244. So what's your NOI?
122,399.
I'll accept.
All right. Thank you. Any questions, Gail or Kent?
I have no questions, thank you.
Just, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that then. And so we'll move on to item 5, 267 Talbot. So on 267 Talbot, Mr. Wong, you can proceed.
Okay, the subject property is 267 Talbot. The file number is 22-2434. The roll number is 140-915-04100. This is the roll year is 2023, and the assessed value is $1,812,000. This is a residential apartment block that's 2 stories high. It's built in 1963 and has 20 suites with 12 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. On page 4 is our income valuation summary. We have the model's net operating income is $93,000, capped at 5.15%. The estimated value is $1,812,000. On page 5 are some rent comparables showing that the rents we use are in line with what's in the market. On page 6 is a summary of the income and expenses submitted by the owner. The estimated net operating income for the property is $86,000, which is a little bit lower than what the model is estimated at $93,000. So I'm recommending a revised value of $1,678,000. You can see on page 6.
All right, Mr. Dupont, how do you feel about that recommendation?
I don't accept.
Okay, so proceed, Mr.
I would accept the net income, which is very close to ours. So we're down to cap rate.
Okay, so then Mr. Wong on cap rate then.
On page 7 is information on how we derived our cap rates, and on page 8 are some cap rate sales that range from 3.6 to 5.74%. The remainder of my brief is the income statements supplied by the owner. So the model rent and cap rates are supported by the market, and the revised net operating income is supported by their actual net operating income. So I ask that you accept the revised value of $1,678,000.
Okay, questions, Mr. Dupont?
No questions.
Okay, Gail, questions?
Just to confirm, your recommendation, it's based on an $86,000 NOI?
Correct.
Okay, and so that's the only thing you changed? Was there a review of the cap rate at all, or?
No.
No, okay. Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Okay, Kent?
My questions have been answered, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right. I have no questions, so Mr. Dupont, I guess just concentrate on the cap rate then.
Yeah, which is based in part on the condition. So you can go page 20, the ad from Sussex, which doesn't say much. That's charming and clean and quiet. So no renovations per se. The cap rate itself is on page 14. So the assessor's cap rate 5.15. If we go 5.5, which is the cap rate we have for the age group. And it's built 1963, 75% parking, 15% bachelors, but we don't give it a cap rate premium. So we notice these negative locations. Most of them in Talbot today are in Elmwood, which is a bit of an inferior neighborhood. But we do not make a cap rate adjustment for location, just one of the factors that it has. So if you look at the our income approach, page 15, line 13, we have about the same effective gross income, and line 33, we have net income 87,000 versus the assessor's 86,000. So we're some $100 higher. So we're virtually the same, and now in the net operating income. So we come to cap rate. So if we use our cap rate, 5.5%, comes to a value of 1,585. And it would be a slightly lower value if you use the assessor recommended 86,432 NOI. That's my report. Thank you.
Okay. Questions, Mr. Wong?
No questions.
Gail, any questions?
So just to reiterate, your request for the increase in the cap rate, Henry, it's based on the age of the building and the suite size and the ratio to parking?
No, it's based on normal cap rate for that age group. We do not adjust.
Just based on your cap. Okay, just based on your cap rate study.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, because we say no cap rate premium is given. We notice some of the negative factors, but those negative factors are not enough for me to give a premium over our normal.
Okay, so those factors would only, okay.
Yeah, it
you.
has only 75% parking, 15% batches, which is negative in a way, but not sufficient to change our cap rate.
Okay, thank you very much. Those are all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Hey, Kent, any questions?
My questions have been answered, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that one then. Let's go on to 273 Talbot. Give me a moment to open the files. Okay, Mr. Wong, on 273 Talbot.
Okay, the subject property is 273 Talbot. The file number is 22-2435. The roll number is 140-915-04500. The roll year is 2023, and the assessed value is $3,890,000. This is a residential apartment. It's 2 stories high. It was built in 1963, and it has 40 suites with 35 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. On page 4 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $858 to get a potential income of $412,000. We use a 3.2% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $399,000. And we used a 48% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $206,000. Capped at 5.3%, we have an estimated market value of $3,890,000. On page 5 are some rent comparables showing that the rents we've used are in line with what's in the market. On page 6 is a summary of their income and expenses. Their net operating income is about $215,000 for 2020, and this is about $9,000 higher than what the model is estimated at $206,000. So their actual income supports the model's net operating income. On page 7 and 8 is information on how we derived our cap rates, with some cap rate sales that range from 3.6 to 5.74%. The remainder of my brief is the income or the questionnaire submitted by the owner. So when we look at the model rent and the cap rate, they're both supported by the market, and their actual net operating income supports the model's net operating income. I ask that you maintain the assessed value at $3,890,000.
All right. Questions, Mr. Dupont?
No questions.
Gail, any questions?
Just in regards to this, is all model generated? Is that correct?
I believe it is.
So the cap rate, 5.3, that's just strict model
Yes.
based on
Based on the attributes, like the age of the building, the location, size.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions.
Okay, Kent?
My questions have all been answered, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, my question is, compared to the previous property, both have the same age, both practically identical condition, identical age rather. Why is the cap rate on one 5.15 and on the other 5.3?
It appears that the current property is about the gross floor area is about 36,000 square feet, and the previous property was about 17,000 square feet. So I believe that the smaller properties tend to have a lower cap rate, and my speculation is that the smaller properties are a little bit more attainable for a larger group of investors, like I guess mom and pop investors, you might say. And so the cap rate might be lower for buildings that are smaller and more easily purchasable.
Okay, but wouldn't the major players be kind of not really looking to pick up a small apartment? See,
Yeah,
the K4 properties of the world and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I'm kind of speculating in the sense that it just sort of seems like the smaller properties might be a little bit more accessible, and there would be a potentially larger group or larger pool of people able to purchase the property, whereas the larger the property gets, the smaller the pool, and maybe the higher the cap rate.
Okay. Do you have sales to pick that sort of trend up out of the noise of all the sales that would be occurring?
Yeah, I don't have any sales, but that's the I believe that's what the trend that the modelers are seeing, and that's why the cap rates are the way that they are, because the sales sort of indicate it to be so.
Okay, thank you. So Henry, you can proceed on your presentation.
Yes, we can go to the appendix, page 17. NAD by Sussex. As far as I know, the Sussex has been managing for years, potentially decades. Then the description, they don't show anything about renovations, just still charming and clean and quiet. The questionnaires, page 23. Other Sussex properties, they have their own Sussex statements, and there's a detailed repair maintenance. But this one, the owner signed the questionnaire himself. So he does it based on the assessor's questionnaire. So that the page 24 will show the revenue and the expenses. And so the repair maintenance is 2 lines only, the maintenance, repair, and the supplies. And then the next page, 25, it shows the vacancy there, 3776. And then capital cost summaries would be the bigger items, roof, windows, etc. So we have less detail than if it were Sussex statements itself. So if we can go back to our income approach, the cap rate page is on page 13. Assessor 5.3, and we're at 5.5 based on the age of the property. So subject built 1963. And the age group that we have for that cap rate is 5.5. And that's what we're using. We're not giving any cap rate premium. We notice it has 15% bachelors and 88% parking, 2 negative factors, but not enough for us to change our cap rate. So we go with the normal cap rate for that age group based on a cap rate study. And as we saw that the assessors recalculating of our cap rates, they basically agree with our conclusion for that age group. So the model will have different cap rates. And as Kim explained, that the model tends to have lower cap rate for smaller properties and higher cap rate for larger properties. Page 14, our income approach. So we show the incomes, and the vacancy was 3776, line 4. And we stabilize at 2%, which is less than the assessor's vacancy rate of 3.2, but slightly more than actual. We don't believe somebody would be buying with actual low vacancy, but tend to go towards a market vacancy. Nevertheless, we went somewhere in between. So line 13, we're 385 for effective gross income. This is 399, so they're higher. Our line 31, we're lower than the assessor, 183,000 expenses versus the assessor, not 192, because we're site specific. Repair maintenance, we're 1113 per suite, which is on the low side. The repair maintenance is shown on the next page. So we have all the different items, but we don't have those because the owner is giving us just the one line. So they had high repair maintenance 2016, 2017. You see the bottom, total bottom as a repair per suite was 4,000 and 4,700. Then it went to 1603, 800, 937. So we stabilize at the 3-year average, excluding the 2 high years, at 1113. So if you go to the previous page, once we put the repair maintenance, 44,000, and that's higher than the actual 2020, 37,000. So the assessor always does the exercise of looking at the last year, and we're saying we should not ever look at the last year. We're always stabilized. In certain items we need long-term repair maintenance. We tend to go 5 years. Some of the other items that tend to vary, like professional fees, office, to be erratic, we use a 3-year average for those. So our net income is 201, similar, but still less than the assessor. And the main dispute is the cap rate, but we still have 5,000 less NOI than the assessor. So line 35, we have a value of 2,668,000 versus the assessor at 3,890. And that's my submission. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Wong?
No questions.
Okay, Gail, any questions?
I have no questions. Thanks for your presentation.
Kent?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, and I have no questions on this one. So let us. We're staying on Talbot Avenue for the rest of the hearing. So 335 Talbot. And again, I gotta open the files. Okay, Mr. Wong on 335 Talbot.
Okay, the subject property is 335 Talbot Avenue. The file number is 22-1010. The roll number is 1409186. I'm sorry, I say that again. The roll number is 14091816100. The roll year is 2023. The assessed value is 1,950,000. This is a residential apartment block that's 2 stories high. It's built in 1967 and has 23 suites with 15 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. On page 4 is our income valuation summary. The model's estimated net operating income of 99,000, capped at 5.1%. The estimated market value is 1,950,000. On page 5 are some rent comparables showing that the rent reviews are in line with what's in the market. On page 6 is a summary of the income and expenses submitted by the owner. Their net operating income is 100,000, which supports the model's net operating income of 99,000. On page 7 and 8 is information on how we derived our cap rates, with some cap rate sales that range from 3.6 to 5.74%. The last page is the income statement supplied by the owner. So to conclude, the model rent and cap rates are supported by the market, and their actual net operating income supports the model's net operating income. So I ask you maintain the assessed value at 1,950,000.
Okay, Mr. Dupont, questions?
No. Have you inspected, or do you have any notes as to the condition of the property?
I have not inspected the property. And judging by the front picture from the internet, it seems like it's in average condition. Is that everything, Henry?
Oh, yeah, it's all questions. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you may be thinking again.
No, yeah, I'm actually looking at my brief. I forgot. Sorry.
Okay. Gail, any questions?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Kent?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, I guess it's kind of hard to tell when looking at your picture on page 3, but if I had to guess, I would say that it looks like it still has aluminum frame windows. Is that?
I think if it was PVC, it would be little, I would say more noticeable than that, but,
Yeah, I think the white, whatever you call them, shutter, imitation shutters, kind of throw you off a little bit.
yeah, faux shutters.
Yeah, faux shutters. Okay, go ahead, Henry, on your presentation.
You'll see the photo, first page, then second page, we show the rear parking. We can go to the appendix, page 22, from the internet. This shows the suite has laminate flooring, vinyl planks, and the stainless steel appliances, kitchen cabinets look not bad, and the laminate countertops. And the another photo of the kitchen and kind of a dining room, kitchen, eating area. And the bedroom also shows the laminate flooring. Bathroom has a wash and dryers, and laminate flooring and some vanities. So if we go to our income approach, now we say the assessor is at 5.1. Have to check. Sometimes you make typos. Yes, it's 5.1. We go with 5.5. Built 1967, 26 bachelors, basement suite, no premium on cap rate. Then the income approach starts. Rotate. So it shows a suite mixer, 6 bachelors, 6 1 bedrooms, 11 2 bedrooms. The parking is at 70%. And we give it the rents, actual rents is $804 per suite. The assessor's at $830. But then once we add laundry and parking, $913, we're only about $100 off. So we're very, very similar on the EGI. Stabilized expenses a normal way. The repair maintenance, we stabilized line 27 at $1258 per suite. Net income is very similar. We're only $500 off. So the main dispute is the cap rate. Now we do have some breakdown repair maintenance on the next page. So we allow some roof repairs, which is only 46 per suite. The flooring and appliance replacements are low. Painting is about half. Counters and cupboards is low also. We excluded some high years for fire safety and pest control. We get the $1258 per suite. So it appears they have fixed up the suites with the laminate flooring in the past, and now in the last 5 years, doing very little of that. Very flooring replacement, very little. So back to the previous page, our NOI line 33 is virtually the same. We have a cap rate 5.5 versus the assessor 5.1, so our value is 1783. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Wong?
No questions.
All right, Gail, questions?
I have no questions. Thanks for your presentation.
Kent?
I have no questions at this time, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, and I have no questions, so thank you for that. We will move to 402 Talbot. So Mr. Wong, you can proceed.
The subject property is 402 Talbot Avenue. The file number is 22-976. The roll number is 140-917-04000. The roll year is 2023, and the assessed value is $2,062,000. This is a residential apartment block that's 3 stories high. It was built in 2019, and it has 9 suites with 9 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. On page 4 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $1,273 to get a potential income of $137,000. We use a 3.2% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $133,000. And we use a 39% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $80,000. Capped at 3.9%, we have an estimated market value of $2,062,000. On page 5 are some rent comparables showing that the rents we've used are in line with what's in the market. On page 6 is a summary of the income and expense submitted by the owner. Their estimated operating income for 2020 is $79,000, which supports the model's net operating income at $80,000. On page 7 is information on how we derive our cap rates. And on page 8 are some cap rate sales that range from 3.6 to 5.74%. See on page 8, there's a couple sales on there of 700 St. Mary's at 3.6% and 1745 Henderson at 4.28%. The 1745 Henderson property is fully renovated and it's operating stably, and it's the cap rate for that sale is 4.28%. For a building that was built in 1974 with an effective year built of 1994. The remainder of my brief is the income statement supplied by the owner. To conclude, the model rent and cap rates are supported by the market, and the model net operating income is supported by their actual net operating income. So I ask that you maintain the assessed value at $2,062,000.
Okay, questions, Mr. Dupont?
So your exercise on page 6, you use the actual income, 123,000. And then you use actual expenses, is that correct? The operating expense, 44,653?
Yes, less the interest expense.
And your model is slightly less. Now, the actual repair maintenance on this one is only $128 per suite. Would you agree that the actual expenses for a property is brand new should be disallowed because there's not enough history? It should be going more towards an expense ratio.
I could see an adjustment upwards in that area.
So your actual rents that you have is 137, sorry. And then you use your side 123. So would you agree with the rents of 123 or the effective gross income 123?
I would just sort of say that their operating income is approximately what the model's at.
Now cap rate, your page 7. So you show cap rate and your 20th percentile is 4.8. That's your lowest above the 20%. To 5.6, so 20% each way, and the subject is 3.9%. So would you agree that your cap rate is extremely low?
It is in the lowest 20th. It is in the lowest 20th percentile. But like when you look on my cap rate sales on page 8, 700 St. Mary's and 1745 Henderson supports the cap rate of 3.9%.
To stay on page 7, the brokers report, which you show Collier, CBRE, and Cushman, they're 5 to 6% normally. Would you agree with that?
That's what it says.
And do any of the market reports, Collier, CBRE, or Cushman, allow for lower cap rates for smaller properties?
I'm not sure.
Now you're somewhat of St. Mary's at the low cap rate. Would you agree that's 1961 and it's not comparable to 1919 subject has?
They are different by 50 years.
And would you agree that some of the St. Mary's had very low rents and very low repair maintenance at the time of sale?
They are what they are.
And the 2390 McPhillips 4.79%. Would you agree that the rents may be below the actual market rents when it's sold?
I don't know.
And the last comparable is 1745 Henderson, which you haven't had in the past. That's a high rise, 12 stories. And effective age is 20 years more than 1974. So it has been renovated. Is that correct?
It is fully renovated.
Was it renovated at the time of sale or after?
It was renovated prior to sale.
And you don't show how you arrived at that cap rate anywhere else?
We don't show it, but we calculate it the same way and we stabilize it the same way as all the other cap rates on the chart.
That's all questions I have.
Okay. Gail, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Kent, any questions?
My questions have been answered, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right. So go ahead, Henry, on your presentation.
If we can go to the appendix, page 19. So that's the ad that has to start. And then the page 20, utilities, 2-bedroom, 1 parking, it's on Kijiji. Then it has some of the photos. So 2019 property would normally have stainless steel appliances, and they have a dishwasher, laminate flooring. Then we show more ads. The tenant has to pay heat, water, and hydro. So this says month per month, and plus utilities. So we show page 23 is on comments. So it's a laminate countertop, no dining room shown, appears in the open area. So that part of the floor plan, kind of an open, no separate dining area. And you can see at page 25 some more. So you come in from the entrance and you have to navigate to the other rooms through there, which would be in the way of the eating areas. So we have a bedroom, laminate flooring, relatively plain otherwise. The living room, only with air conditioner. You see it has a wall air conditioner. But the other rooms do not show air conditioners sticking out. So it's one wall AC and has the washer and dryer in the bathrooms. And the bedroom, page 30, doesn't show any air conditioners. So it's relatively plain, but laminate flooring. So if we go to the first page is the photo. You see it's a relatively new apartment, small, and they have the exterior stairways, which makes for higher maintenance. It's relatively plain in the exterior, so architecturally quite plain. An aerial photo would be page 8, shows some parking in the back. And then the map, Google Map shows it's the middle of Elmwood on Talbot, like most of them here today. So the Elmwood area is inferior. It's not one of the best. It's not the same as being in St. James or St. Vital. So it's inferior area, but we do not give a cap rate premium for that. Page 14 is the cap rate. So we show the assessors 3.9, we're 5.25. We don't give it a cap rate premium. And the cap rate we have for 1999 plus is 5.25 based on our cap rate study. We have 4 cap rates for that age group in our study, and it's shown our page 162 and 161 of our cap rate. And one of those cap rate studies is 2390 McPhillips, which would be a lot higher quality than here. 2390 McPhillips had all sorts of amenities, and it was a brand new apartment compared to this, which is small, relatively plain, wall AC instead of central AC. The page 14 shows that the 1 bedrooms are 672 square feet, the 2 bedrooms 782. So those are small suites. 1 bedroom 672 square feet is quite small. And you saw from the photo, there's no really dining areas as part of the kitchen. So that the base cap rate is 5.25, but there is some negative factors you should take into account when you get that. You may think maybe 5% is better for 1999. A property from like 2390 McPhillips would be newer. But this is more of a plain finish, wall AC, small suites. So we believe that the cap rate 5.25 should apply to that. So the income approach that we have, page 16. So we have the factors on top. So the interior location, small suite, wall AC, plain finishes, exterior entrances, but it does have ensuite washer and dryer. The actual rent that it has is $134,000, $1,246 per suite, which is quite high rent actually. The assessor had $3,000 higher rent than that. The assessor had 3.2% vacancy. They had 7.1% vacancy. So the market is pushing back on their rent. So line 13, they actually got 123,820, and Kim had that figure when he was reconciling. So that is 10,000 less than the assessor. Expense ratios 1 year, repair and maintenance was only 128 per suite. And for newer properties, we tend to go with expense ratios because there's not enough history. So in this case, we went with the expense ratio. The assessor expense ratio 29.6 is not disputed. We apply that, and we get a net income 74,787, which is slightly less than actual, mainly because the actual repair and maintenance is way too low, 128 per suite. And we go in an expense ratio. So we end up with a lower NOI than the assessor, about 5,000 lower or 6,000. And then the assessor's cap rate 3.9 is extremely low. We apply 5.25 and we get a value of 1,425. That's my report. Thank you.
Okay. Questions, Mr. Wong?
No questions.
Okay. Gail, questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Kent?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. And I have no questions. So.
Actually, would I be able to kind of speak on the property before we finish?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the point that Mr. DuPont had made regarding the their actual repair maintenance being low is, I feel it's a valid one. And so I'd like to make a $8,000 adjustment to the model's net operating income, and using a net operating income of $8,000 less than the model is $72,434.
72,434 NOI.
Yes, and applying it against the 3.9% cap rate. The value is $1,857,000, and I'd like to recommend a revised value of $1,857,000.
1,857,000 verbal recommendation. Mr. Dupont, how do you feel about that number?
I would accept the NOI, but not the final value, especially the cap rate.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that's what you would say. Okay. Any questions from the panel on the verbal recommendation?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you for that. Okay. So let's go on to 445 Talbot. I'm thinking as I'm writing here. You probably wonder why I'm not thinking as I'm writing on all properties. Okay, Mr. Wong on 445 Talbot.
The subject property is 445 Talbot Avenue. The file number is 22-2200. The roll number is 140-917-75000. The roll year is 2023, and the assessed value is $1,339,000. This is a residential apartment that's 2 stories high. It's built in 1965, and it has 14 suites with 8 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. On page 4 are some interior pictures of the subject property. On page 5 is our income valuation summary. The model's estimated net operating income is $67,000, capped at 5.05%. The estimated value is $1,339,000. On page 6 are some rent comparables showing that the rent reviews are in line with what's in the market. On page 7 is a summary of the income and expenses submitted by the owner. They've estimated their net operating income to be $57,000, and which is lower than what the model is estimated at $67,000. So I'm recommending a revised value of $1,135,000.
Okay, Mr. Dupont, how do you feel about that valuation?
I will accept.
You will accept that? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Any questions from the panel on 445 Talbot?
Just my only question, just so that I ensure that I understand, you just adjusted the NOI to 57,000 and applied the cap rate of 5.05%?
Correct.
Okay. And so the recommendation is 1,135. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's on the first page.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Hey, Kent, any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now then we come to our last property, 675 Talbot. And once again, let me open the files. See, that time I wasn't talking while I was writing. Okay, Mr. Wong, you can proceed on 675 Talbot.
Okay, the subject property is 675 Talbot. The file number is 22-1482. The roll number is 140-905-03300. The roll year is 2023. The assessed value is $4,398,000. This is a residential apartment that's it's 1 story high. Sorry, yeah, I guess they're just 1 story, and it was built between 1956 and 1964. There are 48 suites with 22 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. On page 4 is some information on the subject property. This is a senior citizens rental, and it offers housing for veterans, their families, and Legion members 60 years and older. So there's a revised income valuation summary on page 5. The model rents are $634 to give a potential gross potential rent of $441,000. Use a 3.2% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $427,000. We use a 52% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $201,000. Capped at 5.3%, we have an estimated market value of $3,798,000. On page 6 are some rent comparables, which support the $634 that is implied. It is lower than what is in the marketplace. On page 7 are the market rents from CMHC. Using the market rents from CMHC, the potential would be $679,000, and which supports the model's rent potential of $441,000.
Okay, first of all, Mr. Dupont, how do you feel about the recommendation?
What's that final figure again? 2 million something?
It's on page 1.
I lost the report. Can't find it.
It's $3,798,000.
I'll accept.
Okay. Any questions from the panel on that
I have no question.
recommendation? Okay, Kent, anything?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you then. That we have heard all the items scheduled today, and this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your capable presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day.
Very
Thank
good night.
you. Have
Thanks.
a great day. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks.